Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Good morning, Peter.
Morning, Bill. Here we are.
Okay, so you have a severe lag on your thing there. Is it me or is it you? You're a little grainy too.
Oh no, I'm the same as usual. You're the different one. I'm going to blame you today.
Okay. Interesting.
I got my new fancy fiber optic network. I'm all set here.
Yeah, but there's a severe lag between what your lips are doing and what the sound is, so I'm not thinking that that's what it is. So, anyways, let's just continue. So, episode number 298. The topic for today is how to increase efficiency in creative real estate so you do deals faster and easier.
Oh, good. I'm all about efficiency. How do you do that?
Good. So here's a description. The art of time spent with potential real estate sellers could be considered the highest paying skill on planet Earth. More than doctors, lawyers, and even bankers make. Especially in economic times like now where inventory is so low and prices skyrocket every day. And quite frankly, if you do not know how to release the seller's emotional pressures quickly, they will just move on to the next person in the long line of buyers waiting to buy their property. So, if you are a rookie and need to learn, it is twice as hard as ever to confront these insurmountable obstacles, which is why today we're going to give you a massive jump start on how you can talk to the seller or talk to a seller and immediately stand out from the others. Not waste time and get the seller's attention. Truth is, your behavior is way more important than results with sellers today, which is why this podcast will turn your efficiency on its head and you will start getting deals to work on and bring to closing. So take the time to listen, test drive the principles, and experience it with your own eyes and ears. How crucial this could mean to your overall wealth. There you go.
That makes sense. I feel that's what I'm experiencing.
And so before we get started, a little bit of housework. There is a link in the description of wherever you're watching us or where you are listening to us, so make sure you go click on it. By the time you get to the end of this podcast, you'll know how valuable that link really is, because all the stuff we're talking about today is inside of that link. Okay? So
You got something there, huh?
I got something there. Every week, every podcast, I should say, we do because we record weekly, but every podcast, there's a different link in there, and sometimes I put amazing surprises in there. Also, wherever you're watching us or you're listening to us, please make sure you subscribe to us and you leave us a review. Or like us if you're on Facebook, push the like button. If you're on YouTube, push the like button so that we can get thumbs up. We like thumbs up, Pete. Thumbs up is good. So please make sure you take a moment and give us our pay, which is a subscription or a like or a comment or a review, anything like that. And that is our pay for helping you on this podcast. Okay. So, Pete, let's start off with defining the term time waster. So this podcast can start off running.
Yeah. Time waster.
Time waster. So here's the definition of time waster. Doing something that will spend a lot of time that is unnecessary or does not produce any benefit. So doing something that will spend a lot of time that is unnecessary or does not produce any benefit.
Sure.
And as we covered in podcast number 297, which is the one right before this, 8 gargantuan deal killers most rookies make on creative deal conversations, talking too much is a form of begging and showing your neediness to do a deal. So
Sure.
jumping right in, talking too much is not good efficiency.
No, makes sense. It wouldn't be.
So and I'm going to actually cover that today. Why you would actually do that? Why some people talk too much, and just why it's not efficient, right?
Sure.
Good. So cool. All right. So number 1 on my list is control your own neediness while you look for and build your seller's neediness.
Yeah.
Right? So control your own neediness while you look for and build your seller's neediness. So what does that mean to you, Peter?
Well, when you're on the phone with somebody, you can't sound like
Pam?
you really need a deal. You really need to make some money and buy a house, and
Pam?
you hope this is the guy. What?
I'm talking to my wife.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
Pam?
you don't want to sound like you're real needy, but you want to find out what the seller needs. So if you're talking to the seller and just asking him questions to find out what he wants, what he's thinking, what's going on, and you put your focus on that, he'll feel like he's talking to the right person, number one, not just like
That's
he's
right.
talking to the wrong person.
Well, let me ask you this question. I think you or most people on this call could probably relate to this.
Mm-hmm.
Ever go to a used car lot and have that pushy salesperson trying to sell you something?
Yeah.
Right? So what's uncomfortable about that? Because what's uncomfortable about that is that the salesman's trying to get you to do what he wants instead of what you need.
Yeah, you're thinking, why? You get a bigger commission on this car,
Right.
rather than the one that I really want over there? Like, why aren't you just asking me what I want, giving me that, and having an actual sale instead of me walking away, you dummy?
Right. So it's his neediness that you're feeling. He's trying to get his statistic or commission up.
Yeah.
And it has very little concern for you. So that's just one idea. And when you have that leak into your making your offers, then it gets very, very dangerous because people tend to feel that, right?
Oh, sure. You can hear it. You know,
Right.
they're not saying the things you want to hear. They're asking the questions you want to be asked.
So number 1 on my list is control your neediness while you look for and build your seller's neediness. And I don't mean you do this by teaching or giving a seminar at the seller. Right? Notice I said at the seller. You're not going to give a seminar at the seller.
Yeah.
Right? Because what you're doing is it's about you. It's not about them when you're teaching or giving a seminar, right?
That's right.
And what you're trying to do is trying to convince them to do the deal, which we're going to go over that in a couple minutes, right?
Bill, you know what it reminds me of?
Tell me.
Okay, you're a waiter or waitress. You go up to the person sitting at the table, and you read the whole menu to the guy until he goes, "That's the thing I want."
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Instead of just asking him, "Sir, what would you like today?" I mean, seriously.
That's
How do you like that one, Bill?
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, I've been there. Our special today, no, I don't want any of that stuff. Stop. I want the lobster roll. End of story. It's a lobster place, right, Bill? They want the lobster roll.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know when I know in my life, and I'm I'm bred very hard English, so just realize that that's where it comes from. But I go to a specific restaurant for a specific thing. And if I want something else, like if I want steak, I go here, and if I want pasta, I go there, and if I want, Chinese, I go there. I go to a specific restaurant for certain things, so that would make sense. Which brings me to the next point, which is exactly what you're talking about. It's done with the Socratic way, which is Socrates taught that back in Roman times, and that's the method of asking questions.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what you're going to want to do. So questions keep you in control. Mm-hmm. Right. So one of the most important things is to keep you in control.
That's interesting that you say that. It's true though.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking at somebody, they're going like, I don't want to listen to that. I don't want to hear that. Not interested. And you start losing them.
Yeah.
You ask a question, you completely engage the person.
I was just going to say, just think about it, because you keep them engaged because you're asking them their opinion and their thoughts.
Do you think we have problem, us experimenters out here, not knowing what to ask?
I'm going to cover that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it just dawned on me, well, what if they don't know? I mean, I can always come up with something, but not always, You end a phone conversation like, should I have asked something else? Oh, I didn't. Oh, boy. Go ahead, then. I want to get to that
Yeah,
part.
Yeah. I could tell you right now, but then it would mess up my whole flow
it's okay.
here.
It just dawned on me. Yeah. That just means I'm tracking with you.
There you go. So, Pete.
Yeah.
Here is the shocking truth. Almost every rookie in real estate makes the shocking mistake that they make.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Here we go. You're more interested in the finances of the property way more than the property itself. That's not the mistake. That's what you're supposed to do. You need to be more interested in the finances of the property way more than the property.
Yeah, well, is that two bedrooms or a bedroom and a half?
Right. And they spend a lot of time talking about the property, or more importantly, what the property is worth, the neighborhood, the property's on Zillow for $250 and they're asking $275, and they're stuck on that in their head. So the biggest mistake most rookies make are they talk about the real estate first. They put the cart before the horse, as they say, right? Mm-hmm. But in creative real estate, that's not how we do it. That's last. The house and the property is last. Excuse me.
It sounds backwards, but what good is the house if they're not going to sell it to you? If they don't even want to talk about your idea, if they have no interest in any of that.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You go through all that, and the guy goes, "No, I'm not selling it to you. What'd you buy all the appetizers for? Figure out the drinks. You don't want the main meal. Why bother? Why bother?"
So the definition of a time waster is doing something that will spend a lot of time that is unnecessary or does not produce any benefit. So is it unnecessary, if you're trying to do a creative real estate deal, to talk about the type of property, the way the property is, when all he wants is 100% cash and is not willing to give you a 5-cent discount? That's a waste of time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you the reason why we waste this time, right? Okay. So now I know the thinker brains and the paralysis of analysis folks won't believe me, but we qualify the property after we qualify the financial portion of the deal. So we do the financial aspect first. We qualify the finances first, then the property. In other words, figure out how we can pay for the property before we look at the property. Right?
Sure.
Is the seller willing to take monthly payments? Or give us a discount? All that comes first. And if they're willing to talk about that, then we keep going.
Right. You know what? It makes me seem like the barrier is not the house; it's the seller.
Yeah.
The thing you have to succeed at isn't the house; it's the seller.
So what I've been doing, that's correct. So what I've been doing is just to ramp things up with my coaching group, and I told my email people I'm going to do this, and I think I'm actually going to offer this as a bonus for the April 2022 meetup. What I've been doing is multiple times a week for 90 minutes or more, I actually do a Zoom call, and the people on the Zoom call, obviously there's two-way communication, but they watch me make live calls. I go into my REI replay system, and I just start dialing for dollars. I just start talking to people. So what I've added this past week for my coaching clients is, okay, so you know what? I'm on the calls anyways. There's no big deal. So bring your deals, and I'll call your deals for you, which I've never done in 20 years. I did that in the beginning, but I did it individually, and it was too hectic for my schedule. Right?
Yeah.
So we had a deal from one of my coaching clients from Pittsburgh yesterday. And the guy picked the phone up. He saw a for sale by owner sign and we had no pre-qualification, nothing. He just saw the sign. So we called, the guy picked the phone up, and he had put a sign in the window, and he owned it for a couple of years, and it's pretty run down and blah, 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 right? Bottom line is the guy kept saying, I want $140,000 in cash or $160,000 if you bring a check. Right?
Are you serious? He was saying cash or a check? He's talking actual cash? What do you think we are, the mafia? Jesus.
Pretty much.
So
anyways, my point in saying that is because he was motivated, and I didn't want to bring that up because I knew what he wanted. I was at the point where I had figured out what his numbers were, what he needed. I figured out it was a free and clear house, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I made an appointment for my guy to go out and see him because that was the next step to do. But I wasn't going to send my guy out to look at a property if I didn't know what the guy wanted. Right? So it's important to go over the financial aspect of the deal first. So right away, this is the efficiency part. Right away, you need to get into the indicators from the seller. Right? We did a podcast. I wish I could remember the name of it. I tried to look for it yesterday. I couldn't remember the name of it. Where we talked about the tell signs. The tells, like in poker, you have tell signs. Your facial expressions.
Yeah.
Right? So right away, you need to get into the indicators. The seller, that they're willing to be flexible on the money part. Okay. So here's the magic of today's podcast. Okay. Here I listed 8 of the most common ones. Here is how we need these, how we figure these sellers out. Okay, so these are the telltale signs. These are the things that you hear from your seller that you know right away you're wasting your time.
Okay.
Okay, so number 1, the seller only wants to discuss just anything, I'm sorry, I'm going to do that again. The seller only wants to discuss anything except cash. He doesn't want to discuss anything except cash.
Yeah. He's all about the price in cash.
At full price or very close, and not willing to do any sort of a discount.
Yeah.
That's number 1. Number 2, right? So does that make sense? So you get on the phone. How many times have you turned? He just wants to talk about cash. I'm only going to take cash. I don't want to do anything else. It's like, kind of like if you don't take it, somebody else will. And I got the best house in the world, and I shouldn't give it away.
And I don't need you.
And I don't need you. That's right.
And nobody does.
Yeah, exactly.
How's that make you feel, punk?
Exactly.
Oh, thanks a lot, mister.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot, mister.
Number 2, if willing to talk about payments, either wants or owes higher payments than you feel the market will pay.
Sure.
So sometimes they'll want to talk about payments, but they either owe too much for the house or the monthly payments are too high. And you can't get it sold on the other end. Okay.
Yeah, you think that's not possible. Like, that's not even, it's not normal. But we've had people that had 15-year mortgages on a condo, and it was $2,000 a month payment.
Yeah.
They have this grand idea that they would pay it off quick and really bust their ass. And then things changed, and then, like, can somebody bail me out? Like, not on a 15-year, oh, no,
Right.
like that.
Yeah, but just to put it relative, so you're saying it's a $2,000 a month payment, and we feel like we can only get $1,500.
Yeah, because it isn't like this big luxury condo in today's market. A few years ago, regular, run-of-the-mill, nice little condo in the neighborhood.
Right.
You can rent for $1,200, then $2,000.
Here's another one. They're unreasonable by asking for short-term payoffs. So they'll be like, yeah, I'll do terms, but I want to be paid off in 6 months or a year.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll wait, but I want to be paid off in 6 months or a year.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one is a big one, and I got to tell you that this one I hear a lot. I hear a lot from my coaching clients from this one, and they don't know how to handle this. And it is a script thrower offer if I ever heard of one.
Oh no! What is it? You're scaring me.
Asking 50% down, or a high down payment.
Okay.
Especially on the free and clear ones.
Yeah.
Okay, so we actually talked about that last week in episode number 297.
Yeah.
But the point is that you're going to tell them, well, I can go to the bank and get a lot less than a 50% down. Like, what makes your money more important than the bank's? Type of an answer, right? So the real, and that's my New York, like, throw it in their face, like, F you type of a answer. And not everybody on this podcast will be that way. Especially those in the Midwest. Definitely not the ones in California. Because they can't talk like that.
Bill, you have a few questions, like, as a fallback. Like, if no matter what happens, you can ask these questions, like, what would I have to do to buy your house today? That's a fallback. Right. And you have a fallback for these kind of things. If a rookie ever gets stuck and doesn't know what to say, and I've heard you say it not as much as the other line, but I love it. You look at the guy and you go, well, would you do that?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You think, like, gee, what do I say?
Well, if you were in my shoes, would you do that?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, oh, of course. It's so ludicrous, nobody would do it, and you don't want to insult him, say you're stupid. So you ask him, would you do that?
Right.
And you put the onus on him.
Right.
To get realistic. Come on, just stop being an idiot.
And then I'll bend it around to, look, here's the deal. I'm going to sell in a rent to own. I'm a specialist at that. I'm very good at it. I've been doing it for a bunch of years. I've done it with a bunch of, hundreds of people in my case. But I got to tell you that the down payment money is going to come from my buyer. So the best I could do, the absolute best I could do is whatever they give me for a down payment, and I expect whatever the number is, $10,000, $15,000, $5,000, whatever the number is. I expect $10,000. I'll split that with you. That's the best I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Ron LeGrand says, we were laughing about that, right? Ron LeGrand says, our down payments are normally zero. How close can you get to that?
Yeah, how close can you get to zero?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a great response, and it's true, though. The point is, we don't put like $20 or $30 or $50,000 of our money into a property to make $500 a month. We don't put thousands in to get hundreds out. We put hundreds in to get thousands out. That's smart. We're not sitting on $3 million and gee, where do I stick it? We're not those. We're not. not a hedge fund.
Yeah,
They're people.
and technically, the definition of creative real estate is the ability to take money out of real estate, don't put money in.
Oh, that's a good short answer.
And I got to tell you that I've had sellers say to me, "What's the matter? You don't have the money to buy the property? Is that why you're trying to do this?" And I instantly get right back in their face. I'm like, no, that's not at all. I mean, we did an analogy one time, like I forgot, if you had $20,000 to invest in real estate,
Yeah.
you could buy one property, put down 20%, and get $100,000 equity, or $100,000 property, or you could buy two properties and put down 10 grand each and get $200,000 worth of properties.
Yeah.
Or you could put down 5,000 each and get $400,000 worth of properties,
That's right.
right? Or you could take 20,000 and invest it in marketing and put down $100, right? See where I'm going?
Sure.
And you could get hundreds of properties,
Yeah.
right? So the point is that we're not doing it because we don't have money. Because honestly, if you have a good deal, there's more money than you ever need, especially right now, right? And the saying goes is you don't find money to buy a deal, you find a deal to get money. Because when you have a good deal, the money comes out of the cracks of the woodwork like cockroaches when you drop food on the ground and shut the lights off, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to number 5. Requires a personal guarantee from you.
Oh. The seller wants you to give them a personal guarantee.
Yeah. Now, this is all in the beginning conversation. This is without getting anywhere with them. This is the first 5 or 10 minute conversation with them.
Oh yeah, no, they come to the table this way.
Yeah.
These are all built in, and these are bricks, big brick walls you have to find out about. They're already there.
Yeah. Number 6, price is so high it kills any of your intended exit strategies. Right? I've had that one a lot with coaching. It's like, what do I do with this? They'll bring it's on. Well, that property it happened to me opposite yesterday. It was good to have it flipped around on me. Because
so?
Normally what happens is a coaching client will come to me and say, well, the Zillow says it's worth, or whatever, says it's worth $250. They're asking $350. What do I do? Well, yesterday I'm doing this whole conversation in this Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for my guy, and it's on Zillow, which is not. I mean, that's just a gauge for me. That's just where I start. It's on Zillow for $199, and the guy's asking like $150, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, it needs a bunch of work. Probably needs $60,000 worth of work. But I didn't let. This is my point. Is I didn't let that bother me. I just kept going, right? Sorry for the cough. So what happened is I hung up, and immediately my coaching client, who's on the Zoom call in the background, says to me, "Oh my God, that sounds like a great deal." I'm like, "Well, it's only worth $200." He goes, "No, it's not." He says, "I just sold the property down the street." He said, "About 3 blocks down the street, and there's one for sale right now for $295. I sold mine for $320."
What? Same type of house.
Same type of house, but
Comparable.
But here's the thing: this guy is clever because it's across the street from the hospital. So what he's considering is doing like an Airbnb for nurses,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's right across the street from literally right across the street from the hospital. Like
Yeah.
when you Google it, you spin the camera around and it's right there. So.
Yeah.
Had I let all the numbers and I didn't practice what I preach, had I done all of that first, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere with the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. So number 7. Seller spends, and this one is my earlier days. It took a long time for me to figure this out. Seller spends a lot of time telling you how beautiful the house is, the benefits of the house, like the jacuzzi, and right down the street is the best school, and they got orange trees in the backyard and a lake, and the president of the United States has a helicopter pad out back, all that kind of stuff, right? And how
George Washington slept here.
Yeah, exactly. And how you should look before talking about the money. And that's a trap. So it's basically the seller trying to sell you. It's their bad salesmanship skills. And they're trying to get you interested in the property and then drop the bomb on you. It's the classic used car, take it for a ride, let me know what you think trick. Right? And then you fall in love with it and you go blind to all the numbers, and then things just sail from there. Right? Yep. So that's a very common one. And then number 8, most important, this is the most important. Whatever the seller is requesting, now this is an instinct, okay? You don't have to know what it is. But whatever the seller is requesting, you have doubts the market will do it.
Oh.
Right? Or it won't be very popular when you're selling it, which means it will be hard to sell for you. So whatever they're telling you, you're like instinctively feeling like, and you don't know this, and I'm naming it right now, you don't know how you're going to sell it, because it's like you're just because, especially, and that's why I bring up the neediness thing in the beginning of the podcast. If you're needy, you won't see these telltales that I just told you, the 8 common ones I just told you. There's more, but those 8 common telltales will sneak by you, and you will keep working to try to make the deal. Now,
you're getting sold?
Yeah, you're getting sold. So now there's a couple more things to this, right? There's some steadfast rules, and there's just 2 of them. And you and I are going through this right now personally. I know I am, which means you are, right? Because there's hardcore velvet ropes that I don't go outside of on certain things, and they're very hard to get me to change my ways, right? And this is one of them, right? If you buy with all money at closing, you should get a discount. That's why you're paying all the money, is because you're getting a discount.
Yep.
But then you have to sell with all money at a closing.
Yep.
So if you put up XYZ, and I'm not even saying you put it up, you go get a hard money loan, you get however you buy it. You put it on your credit cards, you use a home equity line, you use your savings account. In other words, you scrape up the money somehow, some way. Private lender, FHA mortgage, whatever it is, you scrape up the money and you pay all the money at the closing because it's such a good deal and you got such a good discount and you're going to make such good money on the equity because you're going to be able to fix it or do whatever. And within a certain short period of time, and that short period of time for me is within 12 months.
Right.
And I didn't make that up. That's the tax man that made that up, because he says anything within 12 months, you have a certain type of capital gains, which is a 38% plus. Mm-hmm. And if you keep it over 12 months, it goes down to 16%. Okay? So the first rule is if you buy with money, you sell with money. Mm-hmm. The second rule is if you buy on terms, you sell on terms. So if you buy subject to, you can sell on a lease option. If you buy with a slot deal, a sandwich lease option transfer, you can transfer. So it's a lease with an option to purchase, and you wholesale it or sell it to somebody, right? Yeah. Or you could just do a regular lease option. You lease from someone with an option to purchase, and you sublease to somebody else with an option to purchase.
Right.
So you're buying and selling the same way both times.
Yeah.
So if you buy with money, you close with money. And if you buy with terms, you close with terms. Mm-hmm. Right? So here's the point. Don't beg, plead, or even ask twice about these. They're either in or out. This is the magic of this podcast. Most students do not do this. So right away, no begging, no pleading, or even asking twice. Just say, this is the way I do it. And my famous line for this is, well, what normally happens, or what we normally do, or what most of my deals are like, or what most of my clients have done, and I just give it to them matter-of-factly. And I don't beg, I don't plead, and I don't even ask twice often.
Yeah.
It's either they're in or they're out. You should not go down the rabbit hole of going on the defense about this. You have nothing to be defensive about.
Mm-hmm.
So just because you're asking for terms, because here's the biggest thing that happens with most people, especially if you don't have money, right? Or you lost all your money, or if you don't have money. This is a Ben Settle thing. Ben Settle is a one of my gurus that I read a lot about. He's a copywriting expert, and email expert. He says, don't put people on a pedestal, because the only thing that happens when you put somebody on a pedestal is they look down on you. So I run into this most flagrantly when we're dealing with $800,000, $900,000 houses. Now, in Connecticut, that's in Fairfield, Connecticut, which is 20 minutes from my house, a half an hour from my house. Fairfield County of Connecticut is, I think, the second or third largest, richest county in the country.
Yep.
So I had a coaching client down there that was buying houses for $300,000-$400,000 that I would pay $100,000 for, and she would spend $200,000 or $300,000 on them and sell them for $800,000 or $900,000. But she lived in Fairfield, and that was in her blood. Now I'll get another coaching client that will look at an $800,000 house, and they'll put the person on a pedestal. They'll treat the owner like they're somebody special, and they'll put them up on a pedestal and make them feel pretty and special. Right? Now, as a guy, I can tell you I've done this with some girls too, by the way, which was a big mistake. They put them up on a pedestal because they're pretty and special. Right?
Right.
And it's not the right thing to do. Okay? So you should not go down the rabbit hole of going on the defense. By the way, those $800,000, $900,000 houses that we deal with are great for slot deals because they bring $80,000, $90,000 deposits. And the buyers think they're getting away with something because they're jumbo loans, and they normally need 20%. So they normally would need $200,000, and they're giving you $100,000, and they feel like they're getting away with something. Yeah. Now I got news for you, Peter, and you know this because I joke about this all the time. There's no difference in doing a slot deal on a $100,000 house or $1 million house, other than the payday.
Yeah.
You're going to do the same amount of work. You're going to do the same amount of work with the seller, with the buyer, with the paperwork, with all of it. The payday is just different because the numbers are bigger.
Sure.
I know I keep talking about him, Ron LeGrand, because he was one of my original mentors, but he says the more money I waller in, the more I make. So,
Yep.
you're offering sellers a rare opportunity. You have to realize that. You're offering them a rare opportunity. It's your job to state your case, answer questions, and work with those who get the message, and get rid of those who don't. Okay, I'm going to read that again. Mm-hmm. You are offering sellers a rare opportunity. I'm telling you, if you do this enough, you will realize the realtor system or for sale by owner cannot deliver the things that we deliver, especially the time and the money and the problem relief, the relief alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can't get anywhere else. So what you're giving is a rare opportunity. It's your job to state your case. In other words, here's how I can help you. Here's what I can do. Right? Then answer questions and work with those who get the message and get rid of those who can't. I'm going to tell you right now, the number one thing that is going to kill your career is talking to too many people that don't get your message. And they're going to start to make you feel like you're nuts. And they're going to start to make you feel like you shouldn't be in this business. Or they're going to start to make you feel like you're a crumb or you're begging on the street corner with a little tin cup for their property. Right? We're looking for motivated sellers. You say this is your saying. We're looking for. Keyword, looking for motivated sellers. We're not.
You use the analogy of fishing sometimes.
Yeah.
Where's the fish? You have to know where they are.
But here's the point. We're looking for them. We're not trying to make them.
No.
We're looking
answer
for them.
some questions, but you can't change somebody's motivation, or if they need $40,000 yesterday for the husband's cancer surgery, they're not going to wait 6 years for the equity. It just doesn't work that way. So you say find a motivated seller. That means you have to find them, not convince them.
Right. So that's the key word here. Now, making them come around after talking to them, you could do that after you've talked to hundreds of sellers and you get a lot of experience. Somebody like me, I can convince somebody to do it. A little better than you. But in the beginning, you're not going to know how to do that. Right? Realize this. Again, as Ron LeGrand would say, some will, some won't, someone's waiting. Some will, some won't, someone's waiting.
It's funny to me, the people have the attitude that you should give me all cash, why can't you, what's wrong with you, and I don't need you, and they have that kind of attitude. And it's probably 20% of people that have that attitude. The 80% that the other 80% that don't do it, amongst the people who don't do it, are nice about it. They just say no, thank you. They're not all jerks by any means.
No, that won't work for me, but I appreciate it. They'll say, no, that doesn't work for me, but I appreciate it. I really appreciate the information.
Yeah, and sorry, we already sold the house. Good luck, though.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, when you find a person who needs the help, oh my God, the success letters you can get, the appreciation to get them out of there in 4 or 6 weeks and they got to go, or a house that they don't want or they don't need or they can't keep, the gratitude, and the people who buy the houses from us. You're talking gratitude here. Like, well, wait a minute. Were we the jerks yesterday and today we're the good guys? Are we the same people?
Well, here's a perfect example. So every morning I get voice messages because the way our REI replay system works is if they call back in to our phone number, it sends them to my 5.5 minute message about how we buy houses. Now you would think 5.5 minutes is a long time. You're right. So if you say 5.5 messages is too long, I just chucked you up as a suspect. Because if you're interested, you will listen for 5.5 minutes.
Yep.
At the end, they can leave a voicemail. So it's some guy. Now I've been trying to call him because, like I said, I've been on a real rampage lately, and I've been with my coaching clients every day, every other day. I spend an hour and a half, 2 hours on the phones, just banging the phones, leaving message after message after message. I'm not doing any pre-qualifying. I was even in there calling people that we texted and they never even responded to us. Mm-hmm. I'm just calling everybody, anybody, right? So I left this one guy 4 or 5 messages over the last week. Mm-hmm. And this morning I'm listening to him and he's like, here's I should play it for you, but I don't know how to make the sound work over the speakers that way, right? So he's like this. Well, you had your one chance. I called you back and you didn't answer, so you lost your chance, so I guess you're not buying my house. I'm giving you one chance. Now, I'd call this guy 4 or 5 times. You had your one chance and you lost it. So don't ever call me back again. So I'll call him. I'll say, you had your one chance. Just what I'm telling you. You had your one chance to get a really good deal, not pay closing fees, and get more than you can get anywhere else, but you lost it with that attitude. And I'll call him and tell him that. And I normally don't do that, but he pissed me off. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, realize that someone will, someone won't, someone's waiting.
Yeah.
Your job or skill is to decide quickly who is who. And either spend time getting benefit from them or whack them. And keep looking for someone that will. So if you're listening, you should write that down. Some will, some won't, someone's waiting. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Last thing I want to cover before we go today, and is the number one reason why all rookies talk too much. I saved it to the end of the podcast. I said to you in the beginning I was going to tell you about this, but it's because I wanted to chat about it for a few minutes, and we've got a few minutes to chat about it, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the number one reason all rookies talk too much or give seminars and even waste so much time on the phones or with sellers. Now remember, the definition of time waster is doing something that will spend a lot of time that is unnecessary or does not produce any benefit. By the way, is the benefit for us or the seller? It's for both, right?
Both?
Yeah, it's for both,
Yeah.
right? That's the right answer, Peter. Well done. So, here's the reason why. You ready?
Uh-huh.
This is worth a paid podcast. Understand this. Okay?
Yeah.
The rookie or the person on the phone, the entrepreneur, the real estate investor, whatever you want to call yourself, does not have an exit strategy.
You mean an exit strategy to sell the house
Yes.
or get out? Okay.
The buyer, meaning us, does not have an exit strategy. So here's what's happening. You're on the phone with this person, you're talking to them, and all these things are happening, and you brought it up at the beginning of the podcast. I forgot what you said, but you brought it up.
What if the guy doesn't have enough questions to ask? Maybe that point?
I don't remember.
What if he doesn't know what to ask?
The point is this, that the real why that's behind your lack of efficiency and doing all the wrong things on the phone is because you have a lack of an exit strategy. You don't know which exit strategy to use, or you don't have an exit strategy.
Yeah, then you don't know what questions to ask.
So now what happens is you're lost. You're just like floating around in the ocean and have no idea where you are, and you have no compass, you have no food, you have nothing to nourish the deal with because you have no exit strategy.
That makes sense because if you don't know where you're going, you can't ask for directions.
Right. Look, so many get stuck on this one point, and it is really silly if you ask me. And I'm going to explain that.
Yeah.
First of all, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone made mistakes when learning how to potty train. Everyone made mistakes when they were learning how to eat, learning how to drive, how to have sex. All of it. You made mistakes. The first time was not the best time. But you kept doing it because you had to eat right? You had to go to the bathroom. You couldn't stop, right? You had to eventually, I mean, most people had to learn how to drive because it's more convenient. And sex, we're not
Yeah, you
even
need
going
to
to
get
talk about
around.
that.
No, please don't.
There's
go
too much about the sex, right? But it is a pro survival thing. I mean, think about it. Sex is not about the raunchiness of it. It's about procreation. It's about creating things, creating
about the future.
Yeah, it's about the future, right? So
Yeah.
so as human beings, we had to do these things. So because we had to do them, we needed to figure out a way to push through it. No was not acceptable for these trainings, for these potty training and learning how to eat and learning how to drive, and they were no was not acceptable. So why aren't you treating your real estate business that way? No is not acceptable. So you have to practice. You have to practice. So here's my advice. Use lists. So there's I have 3 points here, and then I'm going to chit chat for a couple minutes, and we're going to go off, right? So here are the 3 points. First of all, use a list of potential sellers to talk to that know what you do or know what you know. Right? So hone it down to a list of people that are like you. For example, if you've rented a place in the past and if to live in, then you know how to do that real estate. So get a list of people that are renting, landlords that are renting, because you've already rented a place. You already know what to do.
Yeah.
Right? If you've done a rehab, then you know how to do that. Then get a list of people that would want a rehab. Right? Just connect the dots. So go to the least point of resistance. If you've been through a divorce, then get a list of divorced people. If you had a foreclosure, then get a list of foreclosures because you've been through it and you know what to do. Right? If you renovated a place, then call someone about renovations. And I want you to know I can't take credit for this. I'm not this smart. Because here's what happened. This is a personal story that I'm not going to get into too detail. But I was reading 15 years ago, when Kiyosaki first came out with his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The other books weren't available yet.
Oh.
He said in there, the best thing in the world for a human being to do, and I'm paraphrasing because it's been a long time since I read it, but if you have money problems, go find somebody else that has money problems and help them with their money problems.
That was from him, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know what I did?
Interesting.
I had severe money problems back then. I had just gotten divorced. I had hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt, and I needed to fix it. So I went down to the church, and I found a guy who's a very dear friend of mine. He was one of my. It's you and him are the best, right? They're my. He was the best man at my wedding. Let's put it that way, right? Stephen.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Rinaldi.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Rinaldi. Yeah. So he and I started making appointments, and we raised $750,000 in about 4 months to buy a new church for the down payment. The church was $1.5 million. And the only thing we did was we went and helped people with their money problems. And because of that, I got out of my own money problems because I started, well, first of all, we were getting commissions, but more importantly, I started noticing, well, how come I'm not taking my own advice?
Oh, wow.
And it helped me with my money problems. So if you went through foreclosure, get a foreclosure list and help somebody that's in foreclosure. If you went through a divorce, then talk to somebody about divorce. It will hone down your learning curve. Now, will you become a multimillionaire doing that? No. But you'll get started. You'll talk to people. You'll realize that talking to the people is not as scary as you think. Right? Now, yeah, there are some assholes, but, like my father-in-law used to say to me, don't let an asshole ruin your day. He's an asshole.
Yeah.
That's just it.
It's not your fault that they are. Oh, by the way, The only reason that bothers you is because you take it personally.
Yeah.
If you realize this person is like this all the time to everybody,
Yeah.
it is
Not
not
just
you.
you. Not just you. Yeah.
It's not you. It's not you at all. He's that way because he's that way. It's not anything you did. No matter what you did, he'd be that way. Right or wrong or indifferent. It's nothing. You could do anything upside down, backwards, forwards, negative, and he'll do that to you. So do not take it personal. Make it like you're watching a TV show and go, wow, what an asshole, and turn the channel.
Right. Exactly right. Number 2, always ask. Always ask. And I'm surprised when I listen to recordings of my coaching clients, because I say this, I've been saying this for years, for 298 podcasts. I always bring this up. Always ask, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
Yep.
Like you said, there's default questions. That's a default question.
I even said that today. Yeah. Sure.
Right. Number 3, then when they tell you what they want, so what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? When they tell you what that is, and this is a key point, just think to yourself, how would you be able to sell it this way?
Right.
So think of it this way. So anybody listening to us right now, Peter, anybody listening to us right now can't disagree with this statement. Wouldn't it be much easier for you to buy a property if you had a seller? I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I said that wrong.
A buyer.
I'm sorry.
A
Buyer. Wouldn't it be a lot easier for you to buy a property from a seller if you already had a buyer in place?
Yes.
Right? So that's what a realtor does. So you have to think to yourself, when the seller's talking to you, what type of buyer would I need? Who would do that? Who would pay all cash? Or who would put down $20,000 for a deposit? Or who would pay $1,500 a month?
Yep.
And then calculate in your mind, this is not hard to do, calculate in your mind how popular that would be. Like, for example, paying $1,500 a month is not that bad because I know that a lot of the properties in that neighborhood are getting $1,700 or $1,800 for rent.
Yeah.
Or paying $1,500 a month is hard because I think the rent in that area is like $1,200.
Yeah.
Paying $180,000 for this property is going to be difficult because it's on Zillow for $130,000. So if people go look it up, they're going to be seeing $130,000. Even if it's worth $180,000, they're going to be seeing $130,000. So it might be hard to sell it.
So what do you do when the person comes back at your question with something that really doesn't work? How do you handle that?
Well, you would say to them just what you said earlier. If you were in my shoes, would you do that?
Oh,
Would you buy it this way? You know, it's on Zillow for $230 or $130. You're asking $180. You need to give me a story so I can tell my buyers why you're asking $50,000 over the asking price, or over what it's worth. You need to give me some help here. You need to give me some ammunition to go tell my buyers, to convince them this is why we're asking this number.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to, everybody worries about, this is why I think it's silly. Everybody, and I mean everybody, that's a generality, I know that, but almost one for one, any newbie always worries about deal structuring. Which deal do I do first? And I'm talking about knowing the exit strategy. If you don't know your exit strategy, you will fumble and you will make mistakes. And that's the core reason why you're not efficient on the phone. That's the core reason why you're spending too much time, why you're talking too much, why you're giving a seminar, why you're asking the wrong questions, why you're misguided, is because you don't have a clear exit strategy in your head. So when you ask, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today, and they tell you, you start looking at that's your exit strategy right there. They just told you what the exit strategy is. Now you need to figure out, can I do that or can't I? Will the market accept that or won't? How likely, how hard or how easy is this going to be?
Yeah, this This conversation started some months ago, maybe the summer before, months ago, and it was a huge revelation to me because I watch you in houses, and you seem so confident when you talk to them, thinking, how does he know that that's okay? Because I don't have as much experience as you do, but it doesn't take that much if you just think about it. Well, what's the prices like now? What's the rents or the mortgages like now? And if there are a lot of people looking for houses right now, just a few things, and then you would understand how you're going to sell it, then you'd know how to buy it. I mean, if you're selling pencils, the guy says, I want 5 cents a piece, and they go for 20 cents a piece, you're okay. But yeah, if he wants 15 cents and they go for 12 cents, you're not okay. It's the same exact thing. Or you buy a used car to sell it to somebody. I bought a couple of used cars from you to resell just for some extra cash on the weekends. And, we knew the prices, so it wasn't like impossible. But a house is a little more complicated in a way because it's bigger, it's more money, and you can buy in payments.
I don't make it a big complex thing either, Peter. I just go on Zillow. Whatever Zillow says, that's what I go off of. And it could be totally wrong.
But you think about it. And my point is this. A lot of us guys weren't even thinking of that. Trying to buy the house, not knowing how we're selling it, and being nervous about it.
Yeah.
Because, it's not, selling isn't talked about much because we spend so much time buying that we had to have the conversation. When we did, a lot of us were like, oh, that's a relief. You think about how you're selling it, then you know if you're okay and what to say when you're buying it. They weren't even thinking both ends of it. But that cleared up a lot for me personally.
Good. Perfect. Now, think of this. If you have a general idea of what the house is worth, and you go into the conversation trying to get these 4 facts: the price, the payment amount, the duration of the payments, the time, and the deposit money if you talk about it.
Yeah.
And you bounce them up against what the market will allow you to do, you know how to make offers. You don't need a bunch of magic scripts. You don't need a bunch of special things. You just have a normal human being question and answer. That's where the questions come in. Well, okay, so I can't give you 50% down. How come? Because the market's not going to allow me to do that. Where am I going to get the money from? Well, I can't pay you $180. Well, why not? Because it's on Zillow for $130. How am I going to do that? I can't pay you $1,500 a month. Well, how come? Because the market rents are only $1,200. You see?
Yeah, people can ask whatever they want. Doesn't mean they're going to get it.
Mm-hmm. Here's the punchline of today's podcast: is if you know your exit strategy. When I say to you, let me go back here. When I say to you, you're offering sellers a rare opportunity, it's your job to state your case, answer questions, and work on those who get the message and get rid of those who don't. That's what I'm talking about. It's exactly what I'm talking about. Because you know what the market is. You've done a little. I'm not talking about. Some people will listen to me and they'll spend 2 days analyzing the property. No, it's just common sense. Just common sense. What you need to do is you want to do comps. Here's how you do comps. You put the address in Google, and you look at Zillow. You look at Redfin. You look at Realtor.com. You look at I don't know, what are some of the others? Trulia,
ABC Real Estate.
Yeah. And you get 4 or 5 of them, and you average them. You add them all up, and you average them. And that's the number. Mm-hmm. You don't need to go further than that. Until you start going to contract, then you'll start worrying about that. But the problem is that people think whatever comes out of their mouth, they have to do it, which is true. But I'm going to tell you right now, Peter, I want to pay you, you're asking 180, and you say to them, I want to pay you 140. And you say, okay. So now I'm obligated, right? No, I'm not. Well, okay, this is how I'm going to do it, Peter. I'm going to pay you monthly payments of $1,300, and you're going to keep going, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about any of that stuff until you actually sign the contract when you're buying the house. Mm-hmm. A lot's going to happen between now and then.
Yeah, and you figure the sellers change their mind. People go back and decide not to do things, so we can do the same. And
Right.
to me, I look at it until the pen hits paper, I'm just practicing.
Exactly right.
I'm just practicing. Relax. You're just practicing. Just learning here. Just going through the ropes. You'll buy more houses if you relax.
Yep. All right, so to summarize, review the 8 points that I covered today. And if the deal doesn't fall into any one of those categories, then push forward. Mm-hmm. If the deal falls into one of those 8 categories, get out. Okay? Just, and here's the magic of this system. Just don't make promises you can't keep. Always get it in writing. Don't lie because you think that's what the seller wants to hear. Just go out there and make mess ups. Make mistakes. Just like when you potty trained and you were feeding yourself and you were learning how to drive and sex and all of the other things that you do. I probably should change that last one, but it's too apropos. Just go out there and, like you said, just practice. Right? The magic of the whole thing is if you use options like we talk about on flipping, just go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. All this stuff is there. There's free courses. There's a bunch of free stuff there that you can get, right? If you're using options, the definition of an option is you agree on a price in terms, but you're not obligated to it. It's a legal document where you can agree on price and terms and not be obligated to it. So if things go bad, or if things go sour, you can bail out. And if you don't want to bail, you can just not perform. And there's nothing anybody can do to you. Or you could just sell it to somebody else and let them perform and get a few bucks for putting the deal together that far. So I don't know what you're afraid of. I don't know why you're making such a big deal about it. But I will tell you in summary, the hardest piece of real estate that I've ever had to negotiate, the hardest piece of real estate that I'm still negotiating, I've not been able to close on, is the real estate between your 2 ears. I've not been able to close on that piece of real estate yet because you're not doing deals and you're not out there doing what we talked about. 298 podcasts. Why are you still here listening when you're not doing deals? You're wasting your time because you're not going to do anything. You're playing with yourself in your own mind. You need to do something. Activity is the success. Which is why I suggest you're doing slot deals, option deals, and rent-own deals at first. You can't get hurt. It's a no-risk education for you. Okay?
Yep.
So thanks for listening. Episode number 298 is over. Don't forget to go in the link of the description wherever you're watching us. We actually record these. By the way, that link is a step-by-step process of how you can do everything that we talked about today. We record these podcasts on Thursday mornings, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you wanted to ask questions, like Johnny West said, I think he said hi, but I'm not sure. It said L-I. I'm not sure what he was talking about. But you can put your questions in the comments, either on YouTube, on Facebook, and we do Twitter. I've never gotten a question from Twitter, but if you go to any one of those 3 places, 9:30 on Thursday morning Eastern Standard Time, you can catch us live. Of course, you can go to YouTube and you can go to Facebook, and all of our videos and all our podcasts are there. And you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. On top right-hand side, you could click support, and all those support tickets come to me, and I will answer any and all of your questions. I check my support tickets at least twice a day. Okay? Thanks for all the support, and we're over and out. Have a good day.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.